Alright, let's talk about a guy named Clifton Ray Jr. Now, Clifton isn't just some regular guy. He's a convicted serial killer from Kansas City. Between 1987 and 1994, Clifton murdered at least 3 people. But get this, he's suspected of being behind 6 other killings too. So, what's his story? Well, Clifton's life before prison was a mess, filled with drugs, violence, and poor decisions. His killing spree started when he got into a fight with his neighbor, and it didn't end there. So, Clifton grows up in Kansas City, and by all accounts, his childhood wasn't rough. He even says his parents were happily married for over 50 years. Sounds pretty normal, right? But fast forward to 1994, and Clifton's on trial for killing his neighbor. According to him, this guy was messing with his door, and one day, Clifton had enough. He kicked down the guy's door, things got heated, and before he knew it, Clifton had strangled the guy to death. But Clifton says he wasn't trying to kill him, he just wanted to whoop his butt real bad. So, yeah, things escalated quickly. Clifton got sentenced to 20 years in prison for that. But here's the twist. In 2007, while Clifton is doing his time, DNA evidence from the late 80s links him to 2 more murders. Deborah Taylor in 1987 and Joycey Flowers in 1990. Both of them were strangled. So now Clifton is hit with 2 more murder charges, and he's looking at life without parole. And to top it off, the cops think there might be even more victims tied to Clifton. Like, they suspect him of up to 9 murders total. But here's the thing. Clifton owns up to killing his neighbor and Deborah Taylor, but he denies killing Joycey Flowers. He says the system is corrupt, that they're pinning this one on him just because his DNA was found on her body. He claims that he was framed by some shady detectives and a prosecutor with a history of doing sketchy things. So, there's a bit of a mystery here. Did Clifton kill more than the 3 people we know about? Or is the system pushing extra murders onto him because he's already a convicted killer? Let's dive into the murder of Deborah Taylor. It's 1987, Clifton and some guys are out getting high, and Deborah is with them. She's doing drugs, they're partying, it's all fun until it's not. At some point, Deborah grabs Clifton in a way he didn't like. Clifton snaps, starts strangling her, and before he knows it, she's dead. But even Clifton admits that the drugs might have played a role in what he did. He says it was like being in a trance. One second she's grabbing him, and the next, he's squeezing the life out of her. Pretty chilling, right? Now, let's talk about Joycey Flowers. Clifton says he didn't kill her. He says that while his DNA was found on her body, it's all a big misunderstanding. According to Clifton, the prosecution was corrupt, and they just wanted to close the case by pinning it on him. He even points out that the same prosecutor from his trial got fired later on for hiding evidence in other cases. So maybe there's something there. But still, the DNA evidence is pretty strong, and Clifton's got a history of strangling people. So, did he kill Joycey? That's up for debate. In prison, Clifton has turned to religion. They call him Brother Ray because he's all about Bible study and ministering to other inmates now. He believes that God has forgiven him for his crimes, and that he's where God wants him to be, locked up in prison for the rest of his life. But he's not angry about it. Clifton says that as long as he can help others turn their lives around, he's okay with never getting out. He's made peace with his fate. But here's the kicker. Clifton doesn't think he's a bad person. He feels remorse for what he's done, but he says that killing those people wasn't who he really was. It was the drugs, the anger, the moment. Now, Clifton knows he can never bring his victims back, and that's something he says he'll live with forever. He even says if he saw his victims in heaven, he'd apologize and be glad they made it to the other side. So, what do we make of Clifton Ray Jr.? On one hand, he's a cold-blooded killer who strangled at least 3 people. On the other hand, he's a man who found faith in prison and wants to help others avoid his fate. It's complicated. Maybe Clifton is both a product of his environment and his own worst enemy. Crazy story, right? And this is what Clifton Ray Jr. looks like in real life. If you want to find out more, you can listen to our exclusive interview with him on Voices of a Killer. Just search for Voices of a Killer wherever you get your podcasts.